Okay, so welcome back, Elaine, to the Zoom room. Nice to have you here. So let's just have a look at, as usual, our email for today. There's a quote, a bit of teaching that'll lead us into our lesson, and there's some text if we have time. So share my screen with you. Yeah, so you can read this quote once it's come up. Can you read that? So should I make it a bit bigger?
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is from it's an excerpt from a book called the Velveteen Rabbit by a lady called Marjorie Williams, which was published just over 100 years ago.
Okay.
And it's a story of a rabbit and a horse, but there's some great spiritual wisdom in it. So
Yeah.
just read it, and we'll unpack it.
Real isn't it how you are made, said the skin horse. It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real. Does it hurt? Asked the rabbit. Sometimes, said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt. Does it happen all at once, like being wound up?
Toy. These are toys talking.
Yeah. Oh, yes. No, I can see that. Yeah. He asked, or bit by bit. It doesn't happen all at once, said the skin horse. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to toys who break easily or have sharp edges or have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off and your eyes drop out and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all because once you are real, you can't be ugly except to people who don't understand. Right.
From a classic children's book called The Velveteen Rabbit, published just over 100 years ago, part of an allegorical story from which we can learn much. As like all good stories, it points us to the truth of who we really are and what makes us who we really are, what makes us real. Reflect on its message. What is it saying? What's this little story teaching us?
Well, it's what we make it. We're making it real. So,
well, what's the essence of the message that the skin horse is teaching the rabbit?
Well, because of the child's love, it's making it you real.
Yeah. So love makes the toy real.
Yeah.
And unconditional love makes the toy real.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen to people. It doesn't happen to toys who break easily or have sharp edges who have to be carefully kept. So there's a spiritual, it's a spiritual allegory really. So well, it doesn't happen to everyone. If you've got sharp edges, you're not open to this kind of love. You break easily, you're fragile. Isn't that resilience? You have to be carefully kept. And so there's these blocks. Those are all blocks or limitations to unconditional love. And the skin also same, but unconditional love, nothing else matters. Yes, you might be getting old. Most of your hair has been loved off. Your eyes drop out. You get loose in the joints and very shabby. So what happens to human beings is, as we get older, we get old. We age and the body decays. But it doesn't matter if you have unconditional love.
Yes, yeah.
These things don't matter at all, because once you're real, you can't be ugly. It doesn't matter what the form of,
which is true,
except to people who don't understand. Right. So those who don't understand, oh well, that's an ugly toy or an ugly person, but actually it's not possible, because there's love.
Yeah.
That person is in loving awareness, and has unconditional love in their awareness.
Yes.
So they can't be ugly, because they have the source of all beauty in them, which is unconditional love.
Yeah.
And so, the love of our source, the toy, could be in the it's an analogy or allegory. The toy is us. The toy is the extension of perfect love, and the child would be our source, who loves us unconditionally, and we just need to be open to that, and that makes us real. When we accept the love of the source, often it takes years. He says it takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to toys that are not suitable, because not everyone's going to get this, but for those who are open and willing, they can get it and become real, even if it takes a long time, and they're now old, and their physical body isn't what it used to be. That doesn't matter, because they have become real. They've learned the true meaning of their life and their existence. The very essence of who they are is that love from their source, and from other people as well. So the love then comes from other toys, so to speak, who are being guided, inspired by the source, which is a child in that analogy. So if you receive unconditional love, and you know that you're unconditionally loved, it's much easier to give it, isn't it? You give that same love to your fellow toys, your fellow people, companions on the journey. So what makes you real, really, the essence of this is, what makes you real is unconditional love. That's the moral of that little passage. Which leads us nicely into today's mind training lesson, workbook lesson 252. We're on to. So if you read that in the original and the alternative, let me just start the recording quickly, and maybe we'll just jump into the Word document. Okay, so oh yeah, so we've got a new insert on what is sin. So shall we do that first as a precursor to the lesson? What is sin? So you read that in the original and the alternative.
Sin is insanity, and the same. It is the means by which the mind is driven mad and seeks to let illusions take the place of truth. It is the means by which the mind is driven mad and seeks to let illusions take the place of truth. And being mad, it sees illusions where the truth should be and where it really is. And being mad, it perceives illusions where the truth should be and where it really is. Sin gave the body eyes for what is there the sinless would behold. Sin gave the body's eyes for what could be innocent perceive.
So if you're totally innocent, why would you perceive anything? He's saying only the illusion of sin creates the illusion of perception. If you're in pure formless awareness of perfect love, completely innocent, perception is not necessary. What could you really perceive? Is there any need for perception? Okay, what need do they have?
What need have they of sights or sounds or touch? What could they hear or reach for to grasp? Where am I? Sorry if I missed. What need do they have of sight, sounds, or touch? What would they hear or reach to grasp? What could they hear or reach for to grasp? What would they sense at all? What could they sense at all? To sense is not to know, and the same. And truth can be but filled with knowledge and with nothing else. And truth can only be filled with knowledge and nothing else.
Okay, so what's he saying in this first paragraph?
Well, sin's insanity, and it can drive the mind mad, because it's seeking to let illusions take the place of truth. And so if we're mad, sin is given the body eyes. So all is this making us mad. And we've got sight, sounds, and touch that here to reach and to grasp.
So the sun has set us up. Right, let's just go and we'll go and have a look at our famous diagram, the sentence to whole diagram, which we refer to frequently, because it spells it out here. What he's saying is that sin, the idea that you really have separated from your source, you really have destroyed love, pure formless awareness of perfect love, and created this individual identity, causes the idea of sin and the guilt for that. So I really have actually destroyed my source, destroyed this loving awareness, and I'm now stuck in with this individual identity, which hates itself for its apparent sin of destroying pure formless awareness of perfect love, but wants to maintain its identity. And that's why guilt and sin underpin the entire illusion. So we have this on the metaphysical level, guilt and sin for this apparent crime of separating from our source that underpins the individual identity. And then guilt and sin require punishment. So there's a false expectation of punishment appearing real. We project that out onto a fearful, wrathful, separate God. It's all very scary. And the ego says, in all of this, well, run away from this, run away and hide, go to a place where God can't find you, where you're going to be safe. And then makes up that place, which we call the physical universe, this alternate reality invented by the ego mind, that literally means we've now gone out of our mind. And so now we're caught up in this projection perception mechanism. We've now got projection going on outside of our mind and perception, and the body's eyes and senses have been developed as part of this evolution of increasingly complex and sophisticated separate forms of life. And we're enslaved in the matrix now. And sin, that's why it says sin gave the body eyes. So the idea of sin and guilt, which underpins the individual identity, is key to this whole explosion of the mind outwards as the Big Bang, and then subsequently evolving the system into what it is today. Plenty of separate things around, separate forms. They seem to be out there in the so-called physical world, and there's lots of unfairness, lots of pain and suffering. Attack thoughts seem to be justified. Accusation, blame, and attack of gods and other humans in separate forms seems to be common. And we think we really are living in this world as a victim, living a helpless, innovative little life, hell of limitation, lack, loneliness, and suffering before we die. That is all a consequence of sin, and the sin gave the body eyes to make this thought system apparently real and justified. This is what he's trying to teach us in this first paragraph. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So happy to move on to number 2.
Yes.
Body is the instrument.
The alternative or both?
Isn't really anything that's going to change. I don't think there's not a lot that's going to change.
Right.
Reading the alternative.
The body is the instrument the mind made in its efforts to deceive itself. Its purpose is to strive. Yet the goal of striving can change. And now the body serves a different aim for striving. What it seeks for now is chosen by the aim the mind has taken as replacement for the goal of self-deception. Truth can be its aim as well as lies. The sense will then seek instead of witnesses to what is true.
Yeah, I'm just going to personalize that. So I think I put my senses will then seek instead for witnesses to what is true. Just read that from the top again in the alternative.
Yeah. The body is the instrument my mind made in its efforts to deceive itself. Its purpose is to strive. Yet the goal of my striving can change, and now my body serves a different aim for striving. What it seeks for now is chosen by the aim my mind has taken as replacement for the goal of self-deception. Truth can be its aim as well as lies. My senses will then seek instead for witnesses to what is true.
Yeah, so thoughts on that? What's he saying there?
Well, the body is an instrument. The mind has deceived itself. And of course, the goal of striving can change. So it ends up the body serves as a different aim for striving. So the senses then seek instead for witnesses to what is true. So the body's now being given a different purpose to what the real true self it is. The self-deception. So we want to replace this with the truth.
Yeah, I think it's a key point in this course. He's saying, okay, so the ego set up a situation where you've got this false body, and the body has got sense perceptions which are made by the ego mind to confuse you and to confirm that sin is real, but you can change your mind. you can change the purpose that the body serves. And it's within everyone's power to do that. So now my body can serve a different aim. You know, my goal is one-ment. My goal is awakening, and my body can serve that purpose as well as it can serve the purposes of the ego.
Yeah. So, I mean, what is the definition of awakening?
Awakening is realizing that you're not human, realizing that you're not a body.
Right. Because we had this discussion on a Zoom on Saturday, our definition of awakening. And I said, to be in your true self. And the response was, true self. True self. There's another deception of the ego. It was a bit mind-boggling, actually. I just was going around in circles.
Who said your true self is the deception of the ego?
Well, no, he said something about the true. No, he said you're getting caught up again. He said, yeah, obviously I'm sort of getting intellectually it's sort of right, but I'm going round in circles when really it's actually here, this moment right in front of us. It was all a bit too highfalutin for me, really, at the moment. I mean, that was my definition. I just said, oh, well, to be your true self. And they said, true, what's that about? What's true? So it was all, I said, oh, this is a bit mind-boggling.
Well, you know, Yeshua talks about the truth versus the illusion all the time. So, you know, what's true is what's, you know, your deepest core, who you really are, your true knowing, your true awareness. You can call that your true self. He calls it the Christ. You know, your true self that has this true awareness that is connected to your source, that knows that really only this pure formless awareness of perfect love is real.
Yeah,
that's the true self. You know, that part of your mind that knows that and that can experience that is the true self.
Yes, which I get that.
As opposed to the false self, which doesn't know that and denies that and wants you to believe in, you know, in illusions.
Yes, and obviously the spiritual seeker, which is most of us, when we don't really, it's just another ego seeking thing, which I know we have discussed this a few times. So it was another sort of slant, this conversation that we had on Zoom chat. It had me a bit sort of, God, yeah.
What is the true self all about?
Yeah, it was quite.
And ultimately, that all fades away. So there is no true self or Christ. Maybe that's what they're referring to. But it's all about the levels where you're coming from. The reason why he gives us that true self idea or Christ idea is because it's helpful for us where we are.
Yeah, exactly.
So look at the Holy Trinity. You know, there you've got the top level, level 1, which is pure formless awareness of perfect love or God or knowledge, source. You know, it's all the same, in the same awareness. It's pure, it's pristine. There is nothing else there, right?
Yeah,
that is pure.
That's obviously what he was getting at. Yeah,
pure non-dual truth. Yeah, but in order to get there, you need a mechanism. It's all very well saying, okay, you know, actually there's only that, but now, you know, you think you're in a body and you think you're having all these experiences.
Exactly.
This is the universe of time and space, and you have a false thought system going on. You believe you're a body. You're caught up in the world. You need a mechanism to correct your mind to return there. Otherwise, how are you going to do it? So don't deny the mechanism of awakening.
Yeah. That's
the true self. Yeshua's given us this Holy Trinity idea that there's a true self or a Christ, which knows the Father, knows this awareness is true, and it's connected to this awareness, but it can also perceive what's going on in the illusion correctly, and so it becomes the bridge between the worlds. And that bridge is very important, because without the bridge, the gap is too big. How are you ever going to get from your egoic state of really, believing in all the
That makes more
circumstances,
sense. Yeah.
situations, and traumas, and successes and failures, and ups and downs, and etc. of the world, back to pure formless awareness of perfect love, where all of that's disappeared? How are you going to bridge that gap? It's huge.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
perhaps
you need
the
mechanisms.
next, maybe you should join the next one. It's only for an hour. It's just a chat about awakening.
Yeah, it's on Saturdays, isn't it?
Sometimes, yes, you'll have to pop in. Be interesting, because I mean, obviously, I'm interested in all of this stuff. But when I said the true self, and so it got me thinking again, when he said, "No, not the true bit. Miss the true bit out," and I gave my idea of the world. Mainly I see the news and sanity and so forth, and there's not a lot of sanity. So, and it just appeared that I was more the seeker and going to constantly be on that seeking role. So it was interesting. But I was
so that's probably, that's the difference between level 1 and this. So if you hear, you say, well, there's no true self, it's just pure awareness, right? There's only God, pure awareness.
Right. Now you've made it.
But you see, so that's where he was coming from, which isn't incorrect, but the problem is that's not very helpful for someone who's still stuck in time and space.
Yeah.
To say, well, what's that about? There's no true self. There's only what you are. I am that I am. The isness. There's an intermediary kind of. There's a role for the true self or the Christ to play.
Yeah.
Because it knows this awareness, but it can also interact in the dream world, and it can give you true perceptions or Christ vision, also called miracles or corrections or forgiveness or letting go or surrender or acceptance. It can help you to change your mind systematically and progressively in the dream world. And so you need this as an intermediary sort of step.
Yeah, that's
to finally
obviously what it was meant.
And if you deny the need for the true self and true perceptions, then how are you going to get back home?
Yeah,
it's like I want to go home, but I'm not willing to walk the path home.
That's what it was meant. Yeah,
you need the journey. You need the journey home. And so this is the dynamic that goes on with the course. Ultimately, you need nothing, and there's only this pure formless awareness, and ultimately that's all that's true. But he's given us a course, to meet us where we are. Okay, well, he acknowledges you're not enlightened yet. You still believe in the body. You believe in your personal identity and time and space and so on. So I'm going to give you a thought system that's going to systematically and progressively help you to correct these delusions. And start to identify more and more with your true self, which is just a proxy. It's like a placeholder in this world for pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's how you can actually experience that pure formless awareness of perfect love.
It's meeting us where we're at,
and allow it to come through into your perception and actually help you in your daily life where you're perceiving things and stuff's happening, and you need to let it go. The true self can interact in the world, but not lose itself in the world. It knows that there's really only ultimately this pure formless awareness of perfect love. So it's a very, very helpful.
Yeah, that's what he obviously meant, but obviously I just just a different way of seeing things. Of course,
it's where you at in the awakening journey, and that's why this diagram can be helpful. So where are we talking? Are we talking at this level, the intermediary level, or level 2, as Ken Wapnick would call it, where we're in the dream of time and space and we're trying to reinterpret it? Are we talking about that? Or are we talking about level 1, which is just pure formless awareness of perfect love that completely transcends the illusion? It transcends the idea of a Christ self or a true self. It transcends the idea of forgiveness. It transcends the Holy Spirit. It just is. That's our level, but the course is not set primarily at that level, because he's saying, well, it's not helpful if I just talked about that and I didn't talk about how to correct your perception. It's not going to be a very helpful course for you. You need to learn how to correct your perceptions and become more and more identified with the true self or the Christ in you, in order to take this journey and ultimately awaken. And ultimately, when you're ready, God takes the final step, but you've prepared yourself and your mind just merges into this awareness and you become one with it. But that, it's going to take your whole life.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
what
several
he's
lifetimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's not incorrect, but at the same time, maybe it wasn't helpful for you because it confused you.
A little, yeah, but it's just
more
a
helpful to say, well, look,
flat.
the true self is not ultimately true, but it's a useful construct while you're in the dream.
Yeah, no, that's clarified.
Be aware of it.
Yeah, no, that's you clarified that. Thank you.
Hmm.
It was very useful meeting. It's always nice to meet like-minded people. It was nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, just having a chat about awakening.
It's useful to identify if someone is coming from level 1 or level 2.
Yeah, I needed that reminder. Yeah. That's
so when he's saying, oh no, you're getting lost in the true self, he's saying, well, that doesn't ultimately exist because only pure formless awareness of perfect love is
that's what
true. There's no self there as such. But from this perspective of, well, I'm still quite attached to the level of form and form identity. The true self is what you strive for, to identify with that, because it's attainable. You can still operate in the world. You can have true perceptions or Christ's vision. You can operate and function in the world.
Yeah.
No, true self guiding you. Whereas here, you're beyond it. At that point, that's totally transcendent, and you would probably just sit in samadhi, sit in bliss most of the time if you were still in a body.
Yeah, I just needed that reminder. That's great. Thank you.
Good. Okay. So all helpful. Okay. So what's he saying here? I think you discussed it a bit. So just summarize that. Saying in paragraph 2.
Yeah. Well, the body's the instrument of the mind, but it can deceive itself. It can be used for the purpose it's been meant for, to be truly helpful. And we're talking about the senses here, which can lead us down the wrong path too. And so the truth can be its aim, and as well its lies. So the senses will seek instead for witnesses to what is true. So the senses can really keep us stuck.
Yeah, but we can redirect. The purpose of the body is it's governed by the mind. So we can choose what purpose we want our body to serve. We can choose how we're going to use the body. We can choose what we choose to perceive, how the sense perceptions are now filtered and perceived, and the truth can be our aim rather than lies. And so my senses will then seek instead for witnesses to what is true. And so I'm going to give you a good example, as Deborah was saying, with all this negativity about Israel and stuff.
Oh yeah.
She found 2 things on, I think it was on Facebook or somewhere, about people joining, in response to it. They're doing a prayer ceremony and
yes,
and so on. And so instead of focusing on the negativity, you see what is a witness to the truth rather than the illusion.
Yes, I've had a couple of things like that as well on Facebook. Yeah.
As a response to all of that egoic
the negativity.
So focus on that, because then your senses will seek for witnesses to what is true. Okay, so love is still true, and then there's always a counter. It's interesting how that works, isn't it? So there's this extreme negativity and insanity going on in one place in the world, and then there's a counter to that the Holy Spirit inspires minds to say, well, we need to have a counterforce to that. So we organize meditations and prayers.
I've done a couple of those. Yes. Yeah, no, they're good.
that's now focusing on what is true.
Yeah.
The Holy Spirit reinterprets the situation, says focus on what is true. Love is still there, and this is just insane madness. And so then it becomes a call to another part of the awakening, to look at the ego's madness and say, no, this is false and this is untrue. And so that's happening more and more, which means that humanity is not completely asleep, although these things still happen. More and more people are starting to say, well, that's unacceptable. That's not right. So then they turn to spirit and truth and peace for correction. Say, well, we need to go more into these as a counter to this insanity. And it was interesting that all the footballers are wearing they're wearing a black armband. It's like, why are they doing that? And it's like, well, because they're doing it in solidarity for the suffering of people caught up in the war, the deaths and those who are alive who are suffering in it. So there's but 20, 30 years ago, that probably wouldn't have happened. Football is football. It's like, no, but actually it's more than that, because it's now, we're making a statement by every player in the Premiership wearing that. They're making a strong statement. And they also get down on one knee before each game for a few moments to say no to racism. So it's like, okay, now there's something more. We're not just talking about sport. It's about the mind correcting itself and healing itself and becoming more unified. And that's being reflected at all levels of society. So we are actually waking up as a species, although the ego is still doing its thing, and it probably always will do. There will always be wars and there'll always be insanity going on here, but the counter to that is becoming stronger. People go more strongly now and are willing to be part of these things and initiate them. It's okay, well, we need meditations now, we need prayer, we need a counterforce to this negativity, and then that starts arising strongly to balance the equation and help to counteract the negativity that the ego just loves. So it wants you to get negative and depressed and unhappy, and your job is not to. Don't listen to its story, because it's just a story. It's not the truth. All right, so if you want to read number 3, sinners, just read this in the original and the alternatives, but to translate.
Sin is the home of all illusions, which but stand for things imagined, issuing from thoughts that are untrue. Sin is the home of all illusions, which stand only for things imagined, stemming from thoughts that are untrue.
I think I'm going to change that to source. I think that sounds better. Sin is the source of all illusions, stand only for things imagined, stemming from thoughts that are untrue.
They are the proof that what has not reality is real. They are the proof that what has no reality is real.
Capitalize reality. So what has no reality, we're talking about ultimate reality, the ground of being, pure formless awareness of perfect love. So what has no reality, form, is real. This is what sin is telling us. To make it real in our perception. And so it offers this proof, and the proof is the things that go on in this world that are egoic, that are caused by the ego. So anything that's negative, anything that stimulates fear, sin, guilt, attack thoughts, that's the proof that the ego is giving you that sin is real. And our job is simply to see it for what it is and ignore it, because it's all false. It's trying to prove that what has no reality is real. Okay? The sin proves.
Sin proves God's Son is evil. Timelessness must have an end. eternal life must die. Sin proves perfect love's extension is evil. Eternity must have an end, and eternal life must die. And God himself has lost his Son he loves, with but corruption to complete himself, his will forever overcome by death, love slain by hate, and peace to be no more. And pure formless awareness of perfect love itself has lost the extension it loves, with only corruption to complete itself, its will forever overcome by death, and love destroyed by hate, and peace to be no more.
Yeah, so what's he saying in this one?
Well, sin is the source of all illusions, and it's stemming from thoughts that are untrue. Well, it's trying to say that perfect love's extension is evil. It's saying eternity must have an end, and eternal life must die, which of course is false. And pure formless awareness of perfect love itself has lost the extension it loves, with only corruption to complete itself, and overcome by death, love destroyed by hate, and peace no more. So it's doing the very opposite of what is the real.
And he's saying that, you know, sin is the problem. The idea that you have sinned, that you have destroyed love, is behind all illusions. When we go back to our diagram, you see that quite clearly in the descent into hell. Once you believe that you're an individual identity, separate identity named, you must then believe that you've destroyed perfect love, pure formless awareness of perfect love. You've destroyed it in order to exist as an individual. And so now that becomes real in your mind. You've done this terrible thing. You've destroyed love, and now, you know, the consequences then become must happen, inevitable. The false expectation of punishment for this imagined crime appearing real, that has to come. You will project that out. You will perceive a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God. You will project the separation out into an illusory universe, which now seems to have all these separate forms, which are all now attacking each other, accusing, blaming, complaining, trying to project their sin and their guilt out onto someone else. All of that is a consequence of this idea that you really have separated from your source. You really have destroyed, and you really have destroyed it. That's what sin is, and the guilt and sin go together. You feel guilty for it, for the sin that makes the separation real, and then punishment must ensue. So can you see it's the engine room of the ego. The idea of separation, yes, but what really gives it power is the idea that, yes, I have actually done this. I've destroyed love, and therefore I feel sinful and guilty. That's the engine room of the ego that then leads to all of the negative thoughts and emotions that characterize it. The fear, the attack thoughts, the hatred, the anger, the jealousy, the rage, all come from that idea that, yes, I have sinned. I have actually destroyed perfect love, and punishment then becomes inevitable in this deluded mind. So can you see that, how critical it is? That's why he keeps reminding us in the text, especially, okay, you know, look at your guilt. You must look at your sin and your guilt, and you must let those go rather than perpetuate them, because those are the engine room of the ego. That's what makes your individual self real, what makes the idea of separation real, and it's what gives the ego all of its nasty consequences, which we see so clearly expressed in the world. Okay, and so it speaks for this reality that is the death of God. It says no, eternal life is no more. Pure formless awareness of perfect love has been permanently destroyed and ruined, and so it's telling you that eternity must have an end, eternal life must die, and formless awareness of perfect love itself has lost the extension it loves, with only corruption to complete itself. Its will forever overcome by death, love destroyed by hate, and peace to be no more. So the consequences of the idea of sin are horrific. That's what he's pointing out to us. You really don't want this idea of sin and guilt in your mind at all. It's a very, very bad idea with horrific consequences. So let it go. And realize that it's false, because the idea of separation that seems to cause, be that then the cause of the sin is false. That tiny mad idea is just a false idea. All right. So happy with number 3?
Yes.
On to number 4. Madman's dreams.
A madman's dreams. Are we talking both of them? Original and alternative?
Yeah, I do the original and the alternative. Sorry. It gives me time to edit.
A madman's dreams are frightening, and sin appears indeed to terrify. The madman's dreams are frightening, and sin appears indeed to terrify. And yet with sin perceives is but a childish game. And yet what sin perceives is only a childish game. The Son of God may play. He has become a body prey to evil and to guilt, and but a little life that ends in death. The extension of perfect love may play it has become a body prey to evil and guilt, and only a little life that ends in death. But all the while his Father shines on him and loves him with everlasting love, which his pretenses cannot change at all. But all the while it so shines on it and loves it with an everlasting love, which its pretenses cannot change at all.
Yeah, so what's he saying here?
Well, while we're in this madman's dream, it can appear frightening and, terrifying. And yet it's just, sin is just a childish game, even though it doesn't feel like just a childish game. And this is when the extension of perfect love may play it in the body and prey to evil and guilt, when only a little life that ends in death. So this is what we can choose if we want to stay in the madman's dream.
Well, this is the lowest self-concept the ego takes you to. This individual victimized self, victim of an unfair world that's outside of you. It's very unfair the way that the world and people in the world treat you, and so you feel helpless, you feel enervated, which means weakened, and it's a very little life where limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering, and eventually death characterize it. And so, with your friend, you're seeing that, that the helpless, enervated little life that she's believing in.
Yeah.
And she's identified herself as a body, as an individual person with a body, and now the body's sick, and she can't do what she
normally
used
does.
to.
Yeah.
It's freedom of the body, which she obviously enjoyed, but really, that's illusory. There's no freedom in the body, because you still, you're attached to something that is very limited, that can suffer, age, and will ultimately die. How can you be free if your mind is attached to that? So she needs to detach from all that and free her mind.
You've got her on one end, and the other ones, they're all getting fillers and all sorts, Botox.
Yeah, so that's the same thought system, just now looking to the body for some kind of salvation. Okay, well, if I make my body look better, if I try and preserve its looks and I make myself look younger with Botox and plastic surgery and stuff, then somehow that's going to save me. And of course it won't, because no amount of Botox and plastic surgery is going to prevent death. And it's not going to prevent aging. It's not going to prevent death. So it's delusional, a temporary result, but it looks fake. And you can always see it have had it. So why you now show up as some kind of fake character in the stream, and the more they have it, the more fake they become. You go, but you look like a doll or something. I mean, they really do, like a plastic doll, kind of weird.
Start looking the same. They all start looking rather similar, don't they?
It looks very unnatural and very weird. And it's just like, well, because the mind is now, enslaved to this idea that it's a body. It's a caricature. It's a parody of reality, and so they start looking like dolls.
Well, Sally did ask Sharon why she did it, and she just said, "I like to look in the mirror, and it gives me, confidence." She just didn't like looking in the mirror at herself, because she's now 64. So obviously, lines and things appear, and so she's enjoying looking at
attachment to form. Right, my mind is now attached to the form of how I look, and I don't have confidence because I got wrinkles. Really, like my confidence is that fragile that I'm attached to, what my body looks like and aging. I mean, it's a very fragile basis for self-confidence, isn't it? And of course, temporarily she's like, okay, well, I look better, but it's not going to last because she's going to get old anyway, and she won't be able to keep those wrinkles at bay forever with Botox. So then what? Rather than saying, well, actually, it's just ridiculous because my self-confidence and esteem are not based on my physical appearance. That's a ridiculous idea. Who I am is beyond that. Then you don't go and seek to do these things. You go, well, it's just a crazy idea. It's just part of this whole thought system of, the body, and then I'm using the body for the ego's purposes. Well, that's a disaster. Then you're buying into the illusion of guilt and sin and fear and attack, and the body will age and suffer and die accordingly, because that's the thought system you believed in. And then you enslave yourself into the helpless, enervated little life of limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering, and death, and wonder why you're not happy. But you see, if you don't have this perspective, if you just caught up in this little box, and you really believe you are a body and this individual person, you don't have the perspective to see outside of that and go, I understand that this is really just a product. This is the final outcome of this insane thought system of separation and guilt, sin, fear, and attack. This is what's produced the body, and my belief that I'm a body and everything that seems to happen to the body in this illusion. This is what's produced it, the thought system of guilt, sin, fear, and attack. Well, how can I value that? If I value the body, then I'm valuing all of that, and I'm making all of that real, and I'm denying my true awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love. Well, is that really what I want to do? And in your right mind, you're going to say, no, absolutely, I don't want to do that. I just want, perfect love, peace, and joy. So I'm going to let go of every part of this deluded thought system, whether it's Botox on the one end of the scale, or being caught up now. Your friend is sick with a superbug and is trying to get better with magic. Whatever the illusions are, you don't buy into them. You're able to transcend them. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Bad man's dreams are frightening. Have you read number 4?
Yeah, and I did a little quick summary on it.
So all the while that all this madness is going on and this childish game is being played, Yesh is making the point that the source is still there, love is still there, this pure formless awareness of perfect love remains there in your mind. It's just buried. You're not aware of it because all this other stuff is going on to cover it over. When I had my sort of awakening mystic experience after 10 days of meditation, that was so clear to me. It became so obvious that all of this is just the ego mind spinning itself into a dream. And the only purpose of all of this is to cover over or obscure the veil of illusion, covering over the truth. That's all it's there for. There's no reality to it. There's no meaning. There's no purpose. It's there purely as a covering, to cover this over and deny this, so that you can maintain this false existence as a separate self in this insane world. That's what the purpose of the ego mind and the world it's created is. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And so then number 5, last paragraph of this short insert on what is sin.
How long, O Son of God, will you maintain the game of sin? Shall we not put away these sharp-edged children's toys? How soon will you be ready to come home? Perhaps today there is no sin. Creation is unchanged. Would you still hold return to heaven back? How long, O Holy Son of God, how long? And the alternative, how long will I, the extension of perfect love, maintain the game of sin? Shall I not put away these sharp-edged children's toys? How soon will I be ready to come home? Perhaps today. There is no sin. Being is unchanged. Will I continue to prevent my return to the state of pure formless awareness? How long will I delay my return? That's the golden question.
Yeah.
How long?
Someone once asked me, well, how long is this enlightenment thing going to take? And the answer is as long as you want it to. Really.
How long is a bit of string? Yeah.
How willing are you to accept the truth? If you're willing to do it today, it could be done today, because the truth remains. But we have to work through all the unwillingness, all the resistance, the blocks to this awareness, and that is a lifelong process to keep working through those blocks. So going to take the rest of your life to really master this, and maybe several lifetimes, who knows? But if you're using this life for what it's for, then it'll stand you in good stead for your next one, because that's not wasted. The spiritual work is not wasted. And I think very often people who've so-called got good karma, they put in the work spiritually, much more likely to awaken in the next lifetime. If you look at Ramana was a good example, that Indian sage, I think I mentioned her before, Ramana Maharshi, just woke up at 16, just really got it at 16. You're like, well, how's that possible? Most 16-year-olds are, have no idea. Well, you can only think that it's a past life. He's had a lifetime, maybe in his previous one, he was, very spiritual, and maybe he's a guru or mystic or whatever, and he studied these principles in depth, and he comes back and it's all just ready there, for him, just waiting for him. He needs one more major forgiveness lesson, which was facing the death of his father, and facing death. Really, his dad had died 2 years before, and then that one day this intense fear of death just came upon him, and it was the ego really attacking his mind, but he overcame it. So how long will it take? It's up to you. But every day, you can make the choice to give that day to the Holy Spirit and let the Holy Spirit use it for its purposes, or you can choose the ego. And you're not consciously choosing the Spirit, you're probably choosing the ego, because it's the default thought system. So that's why we have to, be conscious and vigilant and aware to make the right choice, because that's making the choice for or spirit, and the ego is just the default thought system of most people. So if you don't have a spiritual practice and you're not, learning to control your mind, you're probably going to be controlled by the ego, almost certainly. Okay, so anything else? What is he saying in number 5?
Well, we can decide today to choose between pure formless awareness or the ego. How long we can decide how long it can be delayed before we return.
Yeah.
So if we can put all our sharp-edged toys away and make ourselves ready to go home.
Yeah. And interesting, that's why I chose the quote, because the quote refers to sharp-edged children's toys, doesn't it? Saying,
yes. Yeah.
He's saying that those toys won't be open to love. If you've got all these sharp edges, you're not open to the softening of unconditional love. So those sharp edges would be egoic judgments, opinions, judgments, misperceptions. Going, right, I'm fixed in my ego. That's a sharp edge, and there's no room in that mind for this lovely smoothing effect of unconditional love. Resist it. No, I'd rather be sharp and kind of brittle. And if you often observe people, in the ego, there's a rigidity and a sharpness and a brittleness that isn't there if someone is
not flexible,
in unconditional love. More, relaxed, or what goes with love is more relaxed, more peaceful. And the ego is like, no, it's this way, rigid, sharp edges, very defined structure, and not willing to be open to that and look at it and let it go. So am I not ready just to put away the sharp edges of my personality and the children's toys that I play with? I'm playing with toys of sin and guilt, illusions of the mind. Am I not ready just to put them away? How soon will I be ready to come home? Perhaps today. Perhaps today. So he's opening the way, saying, well, you could do it today.
That would be good.
Well, there's only now. So, spiritual awakening is possible at any moment. But just keep working at it.
Yeah.
Just keep practicing and working. And then you're doing your part. Well, I don't know when I'll awaken into samadhi. One doesn't know. But by doing this practice, I'm opening myself up to it. I'm becoming, as Zen says, becoming accident prone. I'm much more likely to happen if I keep practicing than if I don't.
Well, you're going to be getting there if you stop judging your companion's behavior. Like maybe the neighbors acting sort of in a way that's not pleasant, or like they're cat welfare ladies. So I'll know when I'm stopped judging them in their behavior, which I'm still doing. I'm still judging, so I've still got work to do. But
will I not put away? That's what he means. But will I not put away these sharp-edged children's toys?
Behaving people, by judging their behavior. Like Sharon with her Botox and so forth.
Yeah. I mean, you see, it's not ultimately truth. It's not ultimate truth. It's not correct. But no judgment and condemnation of any personal self, of trying to judge her from your personal self, and project that onto her, because that's just a sharp-edged children's toy. That toy of judgment, which separates you from her and your mind, and perpetuates the separation.
Well, the ego sort of gets a little bit agitated because you think you could spend that money on the cats, you see, and of course that again, it's just another ego's ploy to put sin on her, and so the tricky one.
How could you be so unconscious? Why are you spending on Botox and not the cats?
That's my ego saying that, and of course that just brings a feeling of a cloud over you. You think, oh, that's it's not a nice feeling.
So then your practice is, well, that's not a nice feeling, so I'm causing this myself.
Yeah.
I'm creating this feeling by my misperception, so
yes.
we let it
So
go.
I've got to,
Because I want to be
that's
happy
it.
and peaceful.
Yeah.
So am I willing to let it go and just recognize the truth that none of it's true, none of it's real.
Yeah.
The cats are not there. The cats aren't true. The organization's not true. The Botox isn't true. The body's not true. It's all just a setup of the ego mind to convince us that it is true. So let me just go back to first principles and go, no, it's simply not true. So if it's not true, then why am I getting attached to it? Why do I care if it's not even true? So will I continue to do that and prevent my return to the state of pure formless awareness, or will I surrender? That's the question. How long will I delay my return? Just it's nice. He ends it on a question. Just like ponder that. How long will I delay my return?
Well, that'll happen when we stop judging our companions for their unreal behavior. The behavior that, as you say, is just all illusory and just another ploy to keep us in this thought system that is basically insane.
And so then if you recognize that and are willing to correct and forgive, then you're saying, I'm not willing to tolerate delay anymore. As soon as the opportunity comes up, or forgiveness or letting go, I do it because I don't want delay anymore. I don't want to hold myself back from this total freedom and release that the Holy Spirit offers me. So I let it go very quickly. And if that's all you can do, it might come back. You let it go again. Another situation arises. You're aware of it. You let it go again, and you keep doing that. And that's the practice.
Yeah, because otherwise it just makes you feel gloomy. You see, so there's no point.
But it's to recognize that gloom is your own miscreation. It's your own misperception of the situation. It's got nothing to do with the situation at all. It's just your misperception of it. Okay, so any other thoughts on number 5? One is this
clear.
He's really, in a nutshell, he's saying sin isn't real, the body isn't real, but sense perceptions aren't real because sin isn't real, and just recognize that. You'd be willing to recognize that, and then you're free. It's as simple as that. If you don't recognize it, then you continue to play a game of sin, and you're caught up in this game going nowhere. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So that's the insert, which again, just to emphasize, do it every day. He's asking you to read it every day before you read the main lesson. Reflect on it, spend some time with it, incorporate it into some of the meditations. So you can the meditations, and I'll guide you through it. And that's a nice lead into the very short lesson. So it's giving us a bit more spiritual practice to do every day with this. And it's a very important teaching. This what is sin is pretty critical to understand what the Course is saying. Okay, so lesson 252, that leads us into, let me just change the recording. Okay, so I want to read lesson 252 in the original and the alternative form, please.
The Son of God is my identity. I am the extension of perfect love.
Yeah, so it's quite dramatically different, isn't it? But essentially that's what the first one is saying. Son of God is my identity. Okay, well, let's state it in the first person as I am the extension of perfect love, because that's what the Son of God is, extension of perfect love. So that's my identity. extension of perfect love is my identity. Could have said that, but I am the extension of perfect love is more powerful, isn't it? As an affirmation.
Yeah, good.
I am the extension of perfect love, right? That's who I really am. This is the true self. And he says, why are you bothering with the true self? This is the true self, to recognize yourself as you really are, the extension of perfect love. This is the Christ, or the true self, whose only purpose is to extend love in turn. So I experience that I'm this extension of perfect love, and I allow myself to extend, because it's then perfect love extending through me to others. And I become an instrument or a channel of this perfect love in this world, and that's my only purpose. So your true purpose is inherent in this. It gives you your true identity, and it also gives you your function in this world, which is just to be the extension of perfect love. Okay, so that's the headline idea. If you can read the original and the alternative of paragraph 1, please, line by line.
Myself is wholly beyond all thoughts of holiness of which I now conceive. Myself is pure beyond all the thoughts of pure formless awareness of which I can now conceive. The shimmering and perfect purity is far more brilliant than is any light that I have ever looked upon. Its shimmering and perfect purity is far more brilliant than any light that I have ever been with my body's eyes.
Ever seen, yeah.
Ever seen with my body's eyes. Its love is limitless, with an intensity that holds all things within it, in the calm of certain, quiet certainty. Its love is limitless, with an intensity that holds all things within it in the calm, quiet, in the calm of quiet certainty. Its strength comes not from...
It's John. Okay.
Oh, that's good. Always good to John. Shall I continue, or shall we just say hello to John?
Yeah. Hi, John.
Hi, John. Hi, Elaine.
Hi, John.
Welcome.
Hi.
Yeah. Where are you joining us from? From your
I'm at home in the kitchen right now.
home in the kitchen. Okay. Yeah. So we're just doing the lesson today. So Elaine, if you want to continue, paragraph 1, let's read that.
Yeah. I'm in number 4, aren't I?
Hmm.
Its strength does not come from burning impulses which move the world, but from the limitless love of pure formless awareness itself. How far beyond this world myself must be, and yet how near to me and close to pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Thoughts on that?
Well, the true self is pure beyond all the thoughts of pure formless awareness of which I can now conceive. It's perfect. It's perfect purity. It's far more brilliant than any light that I have ever seen with the body's eyes. Its love is limitless, with an intensity that holds all things within it in a calm, quiet certainty. It's strong. It doesn't come from burning impulses which move the world, but from the limitless of love of pure formless awareness. And how far beyond this world myself must be, and yet how near to me and close to pure formless awareness of perfect love. So, how far and yet how near.
That's exactly what we were discussing earlier with the idea of the Christ or the true self. That diagram tells us, well, it's transcendent of the world. It's above the egoic system of duality, but it's close to God. So you raise yourself up above the battleground, as Yeshua would put it, and you are much closer to God in that awareness of the true self. So this is what he's pointing to here. How far beyond this world myself must be, and yet how near to me and close to pure formless awareness and perfect love. So we now start identifying with it. This becomes our true identity, our true self, and we're very close to God or pure formless awareness of perfect love. And that's the true self's only purpose, is to deliver us to the Father, back to the source. So through increasingly becoming more and more aware of the true self and living through it, perceiving with it in the illusion, we merge our minds, we bring ourselves more and more into alignment with this true awareness, which starts to become more and more us. And God takes the final step, Yeshua says, which means that this awareness just kind of merges with us. We surrender everything else, even the idea of being a true self or Christ and true perceptions, all just goes by the wayside. It's undone because it's not necessary in pure formless awareness of perfect love. But we need to identify more and more with the true self, and it's perceived correctly with true perceptions or Christ vision in order to get back home to this final state of awareness where God takes the final step. So our work is to do the corrections, change your mind, and the more you do that, the more you identify with your true self. So, see how it works. So the true perceptions, the Christ vision, those are the corrections, the miracles that lead to us identifying more and more with the true self, really learning the thought system behind it. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah.
John, any comments or questions on that one?
No, that's it's an interesting thought, isn't it?
What particularly is interesting?
Well, the idea of how close might we be? This is how it. I mean, I feel myself that I'm making progress. If I compare where I am now to 6 months ago or something like that, I can kind of feel that little bit of shift. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it can be seemingly small and incremental, but you're practicing this new thought system and you're preparing yourself for the coming of grace, which can come at any moment. You keep practicing, as one of the Zen teachers said, enlightenment is an accident, but spiritual practice makes you accident prone. You're much more likely to awaken if you do the practice than not, which is the whole methodology of this course. He's saying, well, practice and practice and practice, and then God takes the final step, i.e., it's beyond your control to say, right, now I'm going to awaken, but you're preparing yourself for the coming of that by doing these exercises and training your mind and reading the text and so on. So you're heading in the right direction, and then you trust the Spirit. You say, well, I don't know when exactly it's all going to happen, but I'm trusting that it will, because every mind must come back to source, including mine. That's a done deal. That's the universal curriculum's goal, outcome, final outcomes. Every mind returns back to its source. Okay, so let's do number 2, just a short prayer. You can read that, John, in the original and the alternative. And they'll take us into a meditation on this.
So just one question. So it is a done deal that we all get back there. Yeah.
Absolutely. It has to be. Because
it couldn't be. It
couldn't be any way else. If it weren't a done deal, then the ego would be eternal.
Yeah.
So it's guaranteed that every mind will find its way back. That's, God's promise to us. But we have to do our part. So, okay, all very well, waiting for God. Okay, well, please God, awaken me, help me, awaken me. That's not going to work, is it? Well, okay, so let me systematically and progressively correct my own misperceptions. Let me correct my false ideas, which aligns me more and more with my true self, which brings me into the readiness for revelation, or the awakening into pure formless awareness of perfect love. So I can do that. I can prepare myself. I can train my mind. That's within my control to do. Which is exactly why we have a mind training program. As detailed as this, he's saying, well, let's focus on what you can do. Start correcting your misperceptions, training your mind to prepare for the coming of revelation, which will come when you're ready. And he says, I can't teach you that. He says, cannot teach you the meaning of love, for that's beyond what can be taught, but I can teach you how to overcome the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. And that's exactly what he's doing with all of these lessons, to help us to overcome those blocks so that we are much more open to the revelation. But it's very comforting to know that it's a done deal. It's like, okay, well, it's done. It's already done. It's already accomplished. Your awakening's already accomplished. What's happening in this dream is it's just playing out. It seems to, in the linear dream of linear time, it seems to have to play out in time, because that's the construct we've enslaved ourselves into. But it's actually looking beyond time. It's already done. You already sit at the end of time in pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is eternal, because there never was any time. You never left. You never really went anywhere. That awareness is actually undisturbed. You just have to recognize that. And then you're free. Okay.
Yep.
So read the original and the alternative of that short prayer.
Father, you know my true identity. Reveal it now to me, who am your son, that I may awaken to the truth in you and know that heaven is restored to me. Or, my source, you know my true identity. Reveal it now to me, who am your extension, so that I may awaken to the truth in you and know that the state of pure formless awareness is restored to me.
Okay, so thoughts on that? What's he saying?
Well, it's just reminding us that Source always holds our true identity, and it's down to us to connect with that and let go of whatever we're putting in the way to reunite it.
The state of pure formless awareness. So that true identity is like the gateway. We look at, we've talked about the Holy Trinity idea before, but that true self or true identity is the gateway to the experience of pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is called a revelation. Without that true self, I think Yeshua's saying to us, well, the gap is too big. How are you going to go from being rooted in your ego, thinking you're a little separate self in a body with all these experiences in time and space very real. From that to pure formless awareness of perfect love is just a chasm. It's massive. A difference and gap. So you need this intermediary stage, which is the true self, and identifying with the true self or the Christ, and perceiving correctly from that true self. And the more you perceive correctly, the more that true self is strengthened. So it goes. And you need that process to ready yourself, to ready your mind for this ultimate experience of revelation or samadhi. And that will come when you're ready. And it will be restored to you when you've corrected all of your misperceptions, and largely this is gone. You might still be in a body and able to perceive these things, but in your mind they're not important anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good with me.
Okay. Elaine, any
That's good.
questions on that lesson?
Yeah.
Another really, very similar lesson. We've had these before. I'm as God created me. It's the same idea, just phrased a different way.
It's
This
all
is saying
good reminder, though. It's all good. Good
I'm the
reminder.
extension of this love. So it's asking us to feel that that we are extended by this love and feel that connection, and then extend it out in turn. The extension extends. So if we accept this, then our natural function becomes extension of perfect love, because it's been extended to us. So what else can we do really but extend it out? So this becomes not only your awakening but also your purpose. You realize this, you awaken to who you are, and this becomes the director of your purpose, to extend out to people. Okay, in a state of unconditional love. So shall we, Elaine, I'm aware you said you had to go at 9:30. So do you want to do a meditation quickly and then you go, and John and I can continue with the text, if you like?
You can go into the text and do the meditation afterwards.
Yeah, but you said you had to go at 9:30, so
I can do a little bit of text.
That's in 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't have to be 9:30. It's just I've got a load of dishes to wash.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to have that
So
to do in the
we'll
morning.
probably only be doing the meditation much later. It's 11 paragraphs of text, so up to you. What shall we go into?
What does John want?
Yeah, meditation on this.
I'd rather go into the text, actually.
Okay. Elaine, happy with that?
Yeah, we'll go into text.
Yeah. Okay. So where are we? Let's just find the text. Let me just stop this recording. Okay, so today's text reading is section 5 of chapter 30. This one's called The Only Purpose. Okay, so if you can read that one, Elaine. The real world is a state of mind.
Just in the alternative, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really. The only thing is, it does give me a chance to, if you read it twice, it gives me a chance just to change things. So
right.
to do it original and alternative means I'm less rushed.
Line by line, or just do it straight?
No, line by line, because then it gives me a chance
to
edit it as you go. So the real world.
The real world is the state of mind in which the only purpose of the world is seen to be forgiveness. The real world is the state of mind in which the only purpose of the world is perceived to be letting go.
How about let's change that to which I. Real world is the state of mind which I. Make personal, which I perceive. The only purpose of the world. The only purpose of the world is letting go, or to be letting go. So perceive it to be the only. Perceive the only purpose of the world is letting go, or to be letting go.
Is to let,
the only purpose of the world.
to let go.
Maybe is. See, the only purpose of the world is letting go. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the real world. When I'm aware that the only purpose of this world is to let go of it, then I'm in the real world, and I'm perceiving correctly. Okay. So fear is not its goal.
Fear is not its goal, for the escape from guilt becomes its aim. Fear is not its goal, for the escape from guilt becomes its aim. The value of forgiveness.
That becomes my aim. Personalizes. Yeah, carry on. Number 3.
The value of letting go is perceived and takes the place of idols, which are sought no longer for their gifts, are not held dear.
Yeah, so I understand the value of letting go.
And takes the place of idols.
And what's an idol?
Well, it's just something we idolize. We think it could be anything.
Okay,
Anything.
so what is it? What would be the alternative translation then of an idol?
Well, it could be anything that we think is going to put things right. Yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Anything.
Mm.
Are you wanting me to give the definition? Sorry.
So really an idol is it's a false belief. It's
that's giving it its
false belief and form would be, I guess, the complete definition of an idol.
Yeah.
Takes the place of false belief in form. False beliefs in form. So, for instance, we were talking earlier, people want to go and do Botox or something. It's a false belief. That's an idol. My false belief in form, which I think is going to save me, but it's not. Or it could be a magic pill, or a magic treatment, or it could be your next holiday, or it could be a love partner, or it could be more money, or a better job, or a better house, or, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on. And it's my belief in form, which I then seek. That is the problem. The idol is my own valuing of this illusion. Not the illusion per se, it's my value that I attach to it. Which I sought no longer. So I'll just put that into first person, which I seek no longer.
How do you mean it's not the illusion itself, Jono?
Mm-hmm. Well, the illusion itself it doesn't have the power to enslave you or do anything if you don't have a belief in it, does it?
Okay, yeah.
So the idolatry is when you believe in it and you give it power. You exist if you're in the world and there's no attachment to any of it, then although you might perceive these things, they're not idols to you because you give them no value and no meaning. No. They're not ultimately true. You recognize that, but neither do you. You don't have any reaction to them at all, really, because they're illusory. So there's no resistance. There's no craving or desire. It's like, well, they're just part of a dream. So there's no idolatry. I just see them correctly for what they are, and I stay rooted in my underlying true awareness, of pure formless awareness of perfect love. Which is beyond all idols. So the idea of the beliefs in form puts the responsibility firmly with us. Okay, it's my belief in these things. They seem to exist in the world, and they're probably not just going to disappear because I don't believe in them, but I make a choice as to whether I believe in them or not. And you know that, so we all have the responsibility and the power to do that, irrespective of what egoic idols have been made up by the ego. We can always choose to perceive them correctly. That's our ultimate power, and not engage in idolatry when the ego wants us to. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, takes place by false belief in form. Got two witches going on. The value of forgiveness perceived takes the place of idols. Okay, so I understand the value of letting go. I'll use that. Understand the value of letting go. That takes the place of my false beliefs in form, which I seek no longer, for their gifts are not for. I do not value, hold dear their gifts. I do not value their, quote, gifts. And so you see, with all idolatry, people value the seeming gifts of what it brings them. So I'll have Botox, for instance, because it gives me more self-confidence. That's a gift, isn't it, of the ego, seeming gift in quotes, which is not really a gift because it's not sustainable. It's not going to last. It's going to disappoint that person ultimately. But it seems to be a gift and a benefit, which is why people do it. Or I do value their gifts. That's why we believe in idols, because we think it's going to give us something we want. Okay. And no rules are idly set.
No rules are idly set, and no demands are made of anyone or anything to twist and fit into the dream of fear.
Let's say, make it in the first person and active tense, not passive. So I set no rules. And idly, maybe unconsciously, I'll set no rules unconsciously. And make no demands of anyone or anything. You twist and fit into the dream of fear. Okay, and number 5, instead.
Instead, there is a wish to understand all things extended, or they really are. No, extended
As they really are.
As
Yeah.
they really are.
Yeah, I want you to understand all things as they are really, as they are really extended. And is recognize again, and I recognize that all things must, that I I must first let go of all things to truly understand them. Okay, if you can read that from the top in the alternative.
The real world is the state of mind in which I perceive the only purpose of the world is letting go. Fear is not its goal, for the escape from guilt becomes my aim. I understand the value of letting go that takes the place of my false beliefs in form, which I seek no longer, for I do value their gifts. I set no rules unconsciously and make no demands of anyone or anything to twist and fit into the dream of fear. Instead, I wish to understand all things as they are really extended, and I recognize that I must first let go of all things to truly understand them.
Yeah, so what's he saying in this one?
Well, our purpose in this world is to let go. Fear is not our goal anymore. So to escape from guilt, then we need to let go of all the false beliefs that form, and we no longer seek. I don't value their gifts anymore. I set no rules unconsciously and make no demands of anyone to twist and fit my dreams of fear. So we want to understand all things that will extend love. So the first thing to do is to truly understand them.
No, it says I must first let go of all things.
Yeah.
All things must be first forgiven and then understood.
Yeah.
So I must first let go of all things, all
idols. No, false beliefs.
First let go of my attachment. That's what he's talking about. My attachment to all form, all things, to all forms, to truly understand them. Right? Until I've let go of my attachment to a form, I don't fully understand it because I'm misperceiving it. I'm thinking it's something that it's not. I'm giving it a value it doesn't have. To truly understand them, I must let go of my own attachment, and then I perceive them correctly, understand them correctly as extensions, as they are really extended, as extensions of perfect love. They are the same loving awareness that I am, and that's their reality. That's their only reality. In fact, they are not form, they are that pure essence, that awareness. And that's the true understanding this teaching leads us to. Okay? Any other thoughts on that?
I think it's interesting, this one, because I think it's this last idea that it's recognized that all things must be first forgiven and then understood.
Yeah.
I've been feeling just recently myself that I'm getting quite attached to these walking trips that I'm doing, and it's almost as though it's becoming a bit of a compulsion. And I think it fits into this bracket. Actually, it's beginning to become a thing of form.
Yeah. Well, it's a good insight to have. So then you go, well, okay, maybe I just let it go. So don't go on one for a while. Let it go and see what happens.
Yeah.
But what happens if you're really getting great joy from this experience? What would be the point of letting that go?
Well, if it's a compulsion, then it wouldn't be great joy, would it?
Oh,
I
right.
think that's what you've got to be very honest with yourself.
Right.
Is it great joy and I'm just doing it spontaneously and it's all lovely in the spirit, or is there kind of a compulsive element to it that isn't joyful? That's kind of a seeking, idolatry, and that's what you've got to be honest with.
Yeah.
And then it's not necessarily all joyful. I'm seeking something outside of myself in the walking, which I feel like I'm missing. But how can I be missing what's already within me? That's another form of external searching. No. Another walk will do it. You see how sneaky the ego is. Another walk's going to do it. If I go and I do the Camino, I go and do something else, then that's somehow going to satisfy me. And of course, it's not. It cannot, because the truth's already within you. So it's subtle, but you got to just watch it.
Yeah, just subtle.
And then maybe you correct it and say, okay, well, I won't do one for a while, and see what happens. It's just if there's any kind of compulsive quality and you're not feeling comfortable, then you go, okay, well, the answer is simple: let it go.
Yeah.
So I won't do one for a while and see what happens. And if you really feel the urge to do one, it's like, okay, well, why? What's the compulsion? And then there's a letting go in that, because you observe that coming up in the mind, and that's then your practice of bringing it into awareness and letting it go, saying, well, that compulsion is just the ego trying to take charge again and using this as another false idol to keep me away from my source. Okay, well, I sit with that. I'm aware of that. And when I can let go of my attachment to this, then I will truly understand it. And then maybe, the walks take on a different quality, a different dimension for you. Because you change your mind about them. And not saying don't never do one again, but change the purpose of it. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Being used for idolatry to enslave your mind into the illusion, or is it actually being used by the Holy Spirit to free you and others and awaken you from the dream? That's the question. And you have to be very honest, because the ego is dishonest and say, no, it's all good, it's walking, it's good. Well, is it really? Or are you covering something over and not being willing to really recognize what the mind is doing, what the ego mind's doing? And so do that inquiry. And obviously something's come up now for you with these sessions. So that's what happens. It comes up, and then sit with it for a day or two and be aware of what's arising. What are the thoughts and emotions coming up for you that need to be released? That attachment needs to be let go of. And then there's the lesson. If you do that and you really let it go, then no reason why you can't walk again. But the purpose would be different then. Then maybe you go back and you do another walk and say, okay, well, this is a walk given to the Holy Spirit. Do you, when you do these walks, do you consciously say, I'm giving this to the Holy Spirit? This is all about my awakening. What do you think?
No, not consciously. No.
No. So that could be.
Although, there's an element of that. Yeah. Although I don't say it consciously.
So maybe just to do it differently. Maybe we do the walk of the Camino next year. And that's an opportunity to give it to the Holy Spirit and let it be used really for what it's for. The walking is another transformational process to awaken the mind to its true self. That's what it's about. That's its true purpose. So it's not just the valuing of the form. Oh, well, it's an adventure and I'm with my friends and it's the beauty of nature, it's, you know, and all that on the surface level is good enough reason to go walking. But actually it's about, you know, a deeper reason than that. A different aim for striving, as today's insert. You didn't do that one, but you know, actually you can give the body and everything in the world a different aim, a different purpose. And now you're striving to awaken through it. And then that puts a different dimension into the walking and invites different experiences. So the walking becomes you walk for God. I mean, that was the whole point of the pilgrim's journey, wasn't it? So it was you're not doing it to get anywhere, but to God. They were not walking to Santiago. They were walking back to God at the highest level of the understanding. Not everyone probably was at that understanding, but maybe the point of the journey is that, well, you know, as I go through the process of the walking, I'm letting go of my attachment to forms, and then I start truly understanding, as he's pointing out. I'm starting to truly understand then myself and the spirit, and has come more into alignment with it as I walk. And that's how the journey works, you know, whether it's a walking journey or just the spiritual journey, the hero's journey. The letting go leads to more understanding. Understanding more leads to us being able to let go more, which increases our understanding again. And so it becomes this positive feedback loop. The more I let go, the more I understand, which facilitates my letting go and leads to more understanding. And so it becomes a positive upward spiral, up the ladder to awakening, to who you really are. Okay, happy with number one? Should we move on to number two?
Yeah.
So yeah, John, if you can read that one. Again, the original and the alternative, line by line.
Here it is thought that understanding is acquired by attack. Here it is thought that understanding is acquired by attack.
Let's make that I think. Here I think that understanding
Is
acquired. So by here, I think he means in this world.
Yes, yeah.
In this world.
Yes, I think that understanding is acquired by attack. Is that? Can we just expand on that? Understanding is acquired by attack. I mean, understanding can just be seeking, can't it? Seeking to understand something. Doesn't have to. I mean, doesn't have to be by attack.
More, so we can even phrase it differently. In this world, I think that the more I attack, the more I will understand.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
That's really what he's saying. It's obviously deluded. You know, when you attack, you understand nothing. But the ego is telling you that, you know, you'll understand more. This will give you some kind of kudos or advantage or benefit, and so, you know, it's quite willing to respond to that eagerly. I mean, a good example we were talking about earlier, but if you watched the rugby yesterday, did you watch?
I did. Yeah.
So when the moment that England lost the game, do you know that moment? What that moment was?
It
wasn't the final kick. The moment they lost the game was Owen Farrell getting upset.
Okay. Yeah.
He got irate with the ref, and he thought,
yes, yeah.
But the more I attack, you could see he was really like kind of having a go at the ref, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the ego is telling him that the more you attack, the more you're going to understand. This is going to help. And of course, it did the opposite.
Yeah.
The ref just goes, okay, well, we'll just march you 10 meters, and now we'll you know, having been it would have been a very extremely difficult kick at that range. Suddenly it became very doable.
Yeah.
And they lost by 1 point. So, you know, his attack, because he wasn't mindful enough to say, okay, just let it go, be equanimous, you know, back chatting the referee and expressing my anger is not going to work. But that's mind training. Only mind training is going to teach you that.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with the Wimbledon final. The moment Novak Djokovic lost that was the moment he attacked. In this case, the post. He's like smashes his racket against the post. That's an attack, isn't it? It's an attack thought, expression of an attack thought. Actually, that's the moment he lost it. Because spiritually he was out of alignment, and he damaged his wrist apparently. So then, you know, he was now coping with a mild wrist injury for the rest of the match while he attacked himself. And it's those tiny margins at the highest level. That tiny, you know, attack is enough to tip it and make you lose the match. Whereas South Africa dug really deep in the last 15 minutes and they found something that was inspired, that was beyond you. Like I just said 15 minutes ago, it's a miracle. You know, we need a miracle, yeah, because it's like we're nowhere. We're not close to. We haven't looked like scoring a try. We're 9 points down, 15 minutes to go. I was like, you need a miracle, and somehow they found that. And so that was the difference. You know, they won because they were in an inspired frame of mind for certainly the last 15 minutes. And England listened to the ego, and of course it's clueless. It doesn't bring any more understanding. Just sabotages things. So that was the moment that the match was decided. In that moment of unconsciousness, Owen Farrell, you know, lost it, and I think he actually acknowledged it. So Gabriel said, "Oh yeah, no," he acknowledged that you know, it was his fault. But if he'd been more aware, you know, England could have won that match. It's a shame because he actually played very well. Other than that, but that moment of ill discipline, and he let his ego get the better of him. That you know, that cost him big time. So there's a lesson there for everyone, for him as well as everyone who watches it. You know, those who have the eyes to see, you go, well, attack doesn't work. In this world, I think that the more I attack, the more I will understand. Well, clearly that's not the case. In fact, the more you attack, the less you understand. Blinds you to the truth. Okay, so there it is clear that by attack.
There it is clear that by attack is understanding lost.
And so the there he's talking about is in the real world. Yeah. So he's referring back to the beginning of one. The real world is there.
Yeah.
So let's take that in the real world. It's clear by attack that my understanding, you know, that I lose understanding by attack. I lose understanding by attacking. Yeah, exactly. You know, that example. He's not understanding. It's like, that's not going to work. In fact, it's gonna likely to just, you know, have a negative consequence, which it did. So you actually understand nothing the more you attack. Whereas equanimity would have been, okay, well, I can let this go, and you know, then true understanding can come. Well, the true understanding will be, actually, it's not really about winning or losing. It's about how you play the game. This is a spiritual test. You know, it's called a test match. It's not just a physical test. You know, it's a mental, emotional test, isn't it? Of note, you guys really get tested mentally and emotionally. You can see that end of the game. It's just like, oh my, yeah, like the guys who won are hugely relieved and overjoyed, and the guys who lost, like, destroyed. And one of the South African coaches I think it might have been Rusty Russ, just had his head in his hands and his head was buried on the desk. It's like too much. I can't handle it. I can't handle it. Another one pointer, because it's the emotions, the mental and emotional, test. It's the big one, really. The physical is part of it, but it's actually the emotions, the thoughts and emotions that we struggle with. Okay, so in the real world, I lose understanding by attacking. So that becomes obvious as you start to wake up. It's like, obviously, when I attack, I lose understanding. I lose the plot. I have no idea who I am, what I'm doing. I'm blind, spiritually blind, and I don't like being in the dark. Okay, so then number 3, the folly of pursuing.
The folly of pursuing guilt as goal is fully recognized.
Okay, again, he's saying all of this in the passive tense, so we'll make it active. So I fully recognize the folly of pursuing guilt as a goal. Well, it's clear that I lose understanding by attacking. It is clear to me that I lose understanding by attacking. And I fully recognize the folly of pursuing guilt as a goal. And idols are not wanted there.
Idols are not wanted there, for guilt is understood as the sole cause of pain in any form.
And I do not want idols. And there, I do not want idols. Guilt is understood, for I understand.
And he's using the word guilt here in the sense of reinforcement of separation.
Yeah. Well, guilt does reinforce separation. I understand that guilt is the sole cause of pain in any form, right? So you look at this diagram. We'll go back to our descent into the whole diagram. So guilt is the sole cause of pain in any form, because the guilt comes from our belief that we really have destroyed God, love, oneness, pure formless awareness. So that's the original sin. If we believe in the sin, then the guilt follows automatically. Well, I've done it, therefore I'm guilty. Therefore, I deserve punishment, you see? So that's the cause of all pain, because pain is just the thought that I deserve to be punished. False expectation of punishment appearing real, just fear. The punishment will be pain and suffering in some form, meted out to me by this fearful, wrathful, vengeful God for the apparent crime of destroying him. Even though if I've destroyed him, how can I be punished by him? It doesn't make any sense, does it? The guilt kicks off the sequence of thoughts and emotions that causes us all the pain that's ever been experienced. Fear, attack thoughts, accusation, blame, complaint, all of that is pain in one form or another. And the cause of it is the guilt at the imagined sin of destroying God, pure formless awareness of perfect love. That's what he's pointing out here. Guilt is the sole cause of pain in any form. Wow, it's quite a statement, really, isn't it? Okay, so now you're isolating the one cause of all pain and suffering. Wow, okay. Well, if you can recognize that that's the case, and then you can let it go, then you're free of all pain and suffering in any form. Which is why he continuously reminds us that we must let go of our belief in sin and guilt. because that's the cause of all of our pain.
How do we balance that out then, Jono? You know, when the end of life comes to the body naturally, and you know there is pain.
Yeah, but it's not just physical pain he's talking about. The
Okay.
pain he's really talking about is mental and emotional.
Right.
Pain and suffering. So if you've really corrected your mind, your end of life stage, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so it's a sensation in the body. And I've corrected my mind to the extent that I just see it as a sensation. It's not disturbing me in any way. So like a Ramana, died of cancer, but he wasn't in pain. There's no pain. He was in his moksha, he's in his bliss state. It just really didn't disturb him at all. There was no suffering. Maybe a better word would be suffering, because we tend to equate pain with physical pain, but actually we're talking about suffering. So just because there's a physical sensation, and it's still mental, you're still perceiving it, aren't you? But okay, it seems to be in the body, this sensation we call pain. Does that mean you have to suffer? No. It doesn't mean you have to suffer. It's a perception of it that makes you suffer. It's a story you tell yourself around it. Well, without that story, there's no pain, there's no suffering. Just a sensation in the body, which Ramana would have been aware of that, he'd observe it, and he would have just gone, and so what? I'm not attached to the body. But he was in a very, high state of mind. He would have an operation. He had an operation once, which had, they put him under just a local anesthetic. It was a major operation because he didn't want to go unconscious. He said, no, I want to stay away. So they're busy doing I think they opened him up and doing stuff in his guts and stuff. And he's just a local anesthetic, and he's just observing all this. And the surgeon was like, I've never seen anything like it. I was like so detached from his body. He's really just almost like he's a third person, just observing, what's going on to his body.
That's a very high state of being, though, isn't it? I mean,
it is. Yeah.
I mean, Sue was telling me this morning that David Hoffmeister's wife died recently.
She wasn't his wife. She was just a member of the community.
Oh, a member of the community. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, they were quite close, but I don't think they ever got, as far as I'm aware anyway, I don't think they ever got married. Frances Zhu, I met her. So when I saw that, I was like, whoa, that's a bit shocking. My dad's just been diagnosed with cancer, so it's kind of quite current, really. This whole, end of life, death. Not it's always happening, but it just comes into more prominence sometimes.
Yeah. Do we know if she was in pain? I mean, I guess we don't really.
I mean, it describes her story, and it just says, she sounded like she had a very sort of happy, peaceful transition. Maybe there was physical pain, but remember, physical pain and suffering are not the same. I think we have to make a distinction.
Yeah.
So it's the mental and emotional suffering. If someone's resisting it and going, "Oh, this is terrible, and I'm dying," but I think sounded like she accepted it. She surrendered. She didn't want to go the chemo route. She was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, which is pretty advanced. And the doctors were going, well, yeah, okay, this is the treatment protocol that they recommend, which is all about the body and preserving the body. And she just said, no, I'm not interested. Don't want to go that route. So I think she just let the body die gracefully. Only took a few months, and she was with her friends, spiritual community, and sounded like she made peace with it. So then, are you suffering? Maybe there's a physical sensation, but mentally and emotionally, she's in peace. So it's not really suffering. So I think that's the key distinction. Physical pain does not mean mental and emotional pain, unless you perceive it incorrectly. So if you resist it and you you get sad about it, and you know, angry about it and whatever. That's mental and emotional pain. But if you let it go and you're equanimous, then there's no pain. That's the pain he's referring to here is mental and emotional pain. It causes physical pain as well. I mean, guilt, you know, guilt then has created the body and the sense perceptions of the body, and you know, it creates all the physical sensations, including pain as well. Yeah, it's not much you can do about the construct of the body, but you can change your perception of whatever's going on in the body. So if there's apparent pain, you can upgrade it to a sensation. So, well, it's just a sensation in the body, and I'm not going to get attached to it and make it into something that makes me suffer.
How is your father handling it, Jono?
Reasonably well, I think.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, apparently he's quite hale and hearty, but he's you know, he's starting to lose his mind. So I'm not sure how much he comprehends. I don't know how much he understands. But he had, you know, a big tumor cut out, and they said it's gone to your glands and stuff, which is bad news. They haven't been to see the oncologist yet, so that's still going to come. But he's apparently back, and he's quite good spirits, and he's walking around, and he's eating, and so maybe it hasn't registered. And he's like, okay, well, I'm not really thinking about death, and you know, that's why I guess that's a good state to be in. Don't just carry on. You know, it lasts a lot longer that way. So yeah, I think, you know, there's a saying, ignorance is bliss. I think that there's something to that, because he's maybe not fully aware of the, you know, what's the consequences. So he's just, okay, well, I'll come back, and he's happy to be out of hospital, and okay, just going through, you know, going through daily life and not really thinking about the future. Sounds like that's how he's dealing with it, which is probably the best way. Aided by the, you know, the dementia, which just puts him into a very present state, I suppose. Not thinking about the future too much, and not overcomplicating it. You know, the ego mind would go, oh, it's terrible, you know, I've got this, and start working out the strategies, and it doesn't sound like he's doing that. Just being present. So yeah, if you can stay in that state, then, you know, it'll work out quite well. I mean, he's going to die at some point, so probably in the next, I mean, he's 86, so it's not going to go on forever, is it? But you want the transition to be as peaceful as possible. A little suffering and peaceful. So in some ways, the dementia might actually help that.
Yeah.
Because not understanding in the ego's understanding can be a great benefit.
Yeah.
I think it was David Hoffmas was talking about a guy who really got, you know, severe dementia, but so he couldn't really speak except say City of God, Word of God, and he would like be playing in a kind of sandpit with, you know, with stuff, and just being very happy. He was very, like, going back to sort of, you know, childhood type state. He was very happy. Okay, well, what can you say? It's not a bad state to be, is it? Just going back to the simplicity of, you know, being a small child again, which is what happens in advanced dementia states. Letting go of the ego's understanding, which is what he's saying here. And letting go of the idols. Understand that guilt is the sole cause of pain in any form. My only comments on that, and that final comments on that, is if you can understand that, then you've isolated the cause of all pain and suffering, and you can free yourself. So the sole cause of pain in any form, well, the obvious thing to do is to let go of my guilt, and then all pain ends. This is what he's helping us to do. But your guilt shows up in insidious ways, doesn't it? It's not just overtly, I feel guilty. Whenever you fear, that's guilt. Whenever you attack, that's guilt. They got all these forms that are really guilt. So we've got to be very vigilant of those forms and recognize them for what they are and let them go. Okay, carry on. No one is tempted by its vain appeal.
No one is tempted by its vain appeal. The suffering and death have been perceived as things not wanted and not striven for.
That I am not tempted by its vain appeal.
For suffering and pain, for suffering and death have been perceived as things.
For I have perceived. So we're making this active
Yeah.
rather than passive tense. It's much more powerful. For I have perceived suffering and death as things
I do not want
I do not want.
and do not strive for.
Yeah, and will not strive for. Much more powerful in the first person. Okay, number 6.
The possibility of awakening has been grasped and welcomed, and the means by which it can be gained can now be understood. I have grasped the possibility of awakening, and the means by which I can gain. I can reach it, and I now understand.
Means by which I can
Have it.
means by which I can gain can now be understood. I can understand. Understand means by which possibility possibility of awakening. I can understand the means by which, and I can now understand means by which I can awaken. Okay.
The world becomes a place of hope, because its only purpose is to be a place where hope of happiness can be fulfilled. The world becomes a place of hope for me because its only purpose is to be a place where my happiness can be fulfilled.
Yeah, I don't like that hope of happiness.
Yeah. No.
Well, where hope of, I suppose he's saying where the hope of happiness can actually be fulfilled. You can actually, instead of hoping, you can actually fulfill it.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure it's necessary. So we just cut it out. It's to be a place where my happiness can be fulfilled. Where my, let's see, my hope of happiness, because everyone hopes for happiness. Yeah, that's okay. Where my hope of happiness can be fulfilled. That's quite nice. As soon as you put the my in there. Okay, Lane's left us.
Yeah.
Okay. And no one stands outside this hope. Okay, so he uses hope there. So I'll use hope there.
No one stands outside this hope because the world has been united in belief. The purpose of the world is one, which all must share if hope be more than just a dream.
Yeah. So he's put that at the end. How might we put it there? If hope is more than just a dream, then no one stands outside this hope, because the world has been united in belief. The purpose of the world is one in which purpose of the world is one. Maybe that needs an in there. What do you think? Purpose of the world is the one in which all must share. One in which, or one in which purpose of the world is the one which all must share. Everyone must share. Okay, happy with that? Read it from the top in the alternative. Ken?
In this world, I think that the more I attack, the more I will understand. In the real world, it is clear to me that I lose understanding by attacking. I fully recognize the folly of pursuing guilt as a goal, and I do not want idols. For I understand that guilt is the sole cause of pain in any form. I am not tempted by its vain appeal, for I have perceived suffering and death as things I do not want and will not strive for. I have grasped and welcomed the possibility of awakening, and I can now understand, the means by which I can awaken. The world becomes a place of hope for me because its only purpose is to be a place where my hope of happiness can be fulfilled. If hope is more than just a dream, then no one stands outside this hope, because the world has been united in belief the purpose of the world is one which everyone must share. Bit clunky, that last one. If hope is more than just a dream, then no one stands outside this hope.
No one stands outside this hope, okay? Because the world.
Oh, yeah, okay.
In belief, been united in belief, the purpose of the world is one which everyone must share. Okay, maybe the world's been united in belief, in the belief. The world has been united in the belief that the purpose of the world is one everyone must share. Kind of makes sense. It's a bit convoluted, but the world has been united.
No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. So what's he saying in this one?
Well, it's saying that we need to let go of the idea of attack is a useful tool, because all it does is actually sabotage us. He's encouraging us to let all forms of attack go, because they're all coming from a sense of guilt. And if I can actually get a hold of this will take me to a place of hope, of real hope for happiness. It won't be just a dream.
Yeah, and my hope of happiness can actually be fulfilled. So I'm not just hoping for happiness, I can actually experience it, experience happiness and live it out. And no one is outside of us. Everyone can attain this happiness, because we all share one common purpose, which is to awaken from the dream of form, or from all the false idols and the ego's thought system of attack and fear to this state of happiness. And the world becomes a place where that happiness can actually be fulfilled and experienced, the happy dream, while we're awakening to the ultimate truth that we are not bodies, we are not separate minds. We are pure formless awareness of perfect love. Okay, happy with number 2?
Yep.
Okay, so number 3, if you can read that in the original and then the alternative. John? You there?
Sorry, John, I switched off for a second. Not yet is heaven quite remembered, for the purpose of forgiveness still remains. I do not yet remember the state of pure formless awareness, and hence the purpose of letting go remains.
The purpose of letting go.
Still remains.
Yeah. So I still have this purpose, because I wouldn't need to let go if I fully remembered the state of pure formless awareness, would I?
No,
I do not yet.
you would have let go.
Yeah, exactly. So the purpose of letting go still remains. And everyone is certain.
Yet everyone is certain he will go beyond forgiveness, and he but remains until it is made perfect in himself. Yet
Everyone is certain they will go beyond letting go, and only remain until it is made perfect in myself. Okay, so, and I will only remain in this world until it is made perfect in myself. That forgiveness is made perfect, or letting go, until I've mastered it, maybe. I will only remain in this world until I have mastered. How about put in a little the art of letting go, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? I'll remain here until I've mastered this letting go, mastered letting go, mastered the art of letting go.
I have no wish for anything else, only this.
But this, I think, is the I have no wish for anything
Other than this.
or even better, I only wish
For this. And fear has dropped away because I am united in my purpose with myself. And fear has dropped away because I am united in my purpose.
He is united in his purpose with himself. Yeah. So I'm united in my purpose with, I think that's myself. I'm united with myself. That makes better, sounds better, doesn't it? So I'm united with my capital self in my purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a hope of happiness in me so sure and constant I can barely stay and wait a little longer. I can barely stay and wait a little longer. There is a hope of happiness in me so sure and constant I can barely stay and wait a little longer.
Let's put that there. Stay with my feet still touching earth and wait a little longer for state of pure. Let's wait a little longer. It's the same for heaven, for state of the pure formless awareness.
Yet am I glad to wait until every hand is joined and every heart made ready to arise and go with me. For thus am I made ready for the step in which all letting go is left behind. Whoops. For thus I am made ready for the step in which all letting go is left behind.
For in this way,
or in this way.
Made ready. I'm prepared, maybe would be better. I'm prepared. Prepared
for the step
in which is all letting go left behind, which I leave behind. Remember, the original is forgiveness, which I leave behind, or in which how about I transcend the need. So the need to let go entirely, because there's nothing to let go of. If I'm in a state of pure formless awareness, forgiveness is not required because I am in the state, my final ultimate state of awareness. So what would there be to require letting go? What do I need to let go of in that state? Well, in this way, I am prepared for the step. I'm preparing, maybe. In this way, I'm preparing for the step in which I transcend, for the final step. Get ready for the step in which is all forgiveness left behind. So that would be the final step that God takes, pure formless awareness of perfect love takes, in which I transcend the need to let go entirely. Okay, so read that from the top.
I do not yet remember the state of pure formless awareness, but the purpose of letting go still remains. Yet everyone is certain they will go beyond letting go, and I will only remain in this world until I have mastered the art of letting go. I only wish for this, and fear has dropped away because I am united with myself in my purpose. There is a hope of happiness in me so sure and constant, I can barely stay with my feet still touching earth and wait a little longer for the state of pure formless awareness. Yet I am glad to wait till every hand is joined and every heart made ready to arise and go with me. For in this way I am preparing for the final step in which I transcend the need to let go entirely.
Okay. And what's he saying in this one?
It's saying that, it's reminding us that our only wish is to let go of the illusion and return to a state of pure formless awareness. And once we get there, we won't have any more need to let go of anything, because we will be united. We won't be throwing things in our own way. And we will
Yep.
And we will be achieving this, we will be merging with this hope, this state of happiness, peace, really.
So it's pointing spiritually. I mean, I don't know if you felt this, but there's a part of you that's just like, well, can't it just be over? Can't I just leave and go back home and, you know, be done with all this? And he's saying, you know, that I can barely stay with my feet still touching earth and wait a little longer for the state of pure formless awareness. Like, well, why wouldn't I just go straight away? So there's that kind of urge in every spiritual someone who's awakening to just get it over with. All right, let's just go back to the ultimate state and remain there. This is all a delusion, you know, why not just wake up straight away? But then he says, but yet I'm glad to wait till every hand is joined and every heart made ready to arise and go with me. So
yeah.
This is the kind of the in the Buddhist teaching, they call this the bodhisattva idea of, okay, well, while you're here, you know, your purpose is to help others. To awaken. And so I'm glad, practically speaking, I'm glad to wait till every hand is joined, every heart made ready to arise and go with me. You're going to wait a long, long time. So that, you know, that shouldn't cause you to come back and reincarnate, because that would be another delusion. But while you're here, that's the correct attitude. Okay, well, while I've got this life and this body and I'm playing it out, then okay, you know, I'll do my part in that one-ment, and I'll spread this the one-ment through my words and my actions, and be an instrument of awakening. And I'm okay to stay as long as my life here lasts and do that work. I think this is what he's addressing, even though there's this call to go beyond it, which can become, you know, very strong. You remain here to do the work in the world, which is why Yeshua, you know, when he finally gave it up and he let go fully and died on the cross, his final words were, "It's done, it's over." So he'd done his part, he'd done his service, and it was over then, and he was free to just go back into the light. So I think it was a statement of relief. Well, in this way, when we do this, I'm preparing for the final step in which I transcend the need to let go entirely. Pointing us to the ultimate, you know, transcendent state. We talked about level 1, level 2 earlier. You missed that, but because Elaine had said, someone had said in one of her groups that, oh no, you don't want to be in the true self. It's beyond that. So they were talking about level 1. In the same way, this is about going beyond the illusion, going beyond even the true self, and the idea that the true self, or the Christ, the Son of God, or extension of God, or Buddha, or Atman, whatever you want to call it. Go beyond that, just into this awareness. Surrender completely to this awareness. That's level 1, in which nothing else exists, in which I transcend the need to let go entirely. In the state of pure formless awareness, when you're rooted in that, there's no need to let go anymore. There's no need for true perceptions or Christ vision. because this whole domain of illusion of time and space has disappeared, and you remain rooted in this awareness. Okay, make sense?
Yeah. The final step is God's, because it is God who could create a perfect son and share his fatherhood with him. The final step is pure formless awareness of perfect loves, because it is only pure formless awareness of, oh, hang on, the final step is perfect loves, because it is only pure formless awareness of perfect love who could extend a perfect.
Very well said. Which could extend a perfect extension.
Which could extend a perfect extension and share its sourcehood with it.
Okay, perfect love. Final step is perfect love, because only perfect love which could extend a perfect extension and share its fatherhood, you know. So I actually looked up sourcehood is actually a word. It's an unusual word, but it is a word, so I'll use it. And share its sourcehood with it. With the perfect love. Okay.
No one outside of the state of pure formless awareness knows how this can be. For understanding this is the state of pure formless awareness itself. Even the real world has a purpose still beneath extension and eternity. Even the real world has a purpose still beneath extension and eternity.
Yeah, he says creation. So actually he means, let's change that to being. Creation in this sense is being, and eternity, which are really just different pointers to the same thing, the same reality. He's talking here about top level, yeah, level one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Being, eternity are part of this. I think I've incorporated some of those: eternity, infinity, being. There's many names for it, and not enough names to incorporate all of them, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
So even the real world is a purpose still beneath being and eternity. Yes, because being and eternity on level one, in which no concept of any other world exists. There's no real world in the state of pure formless awareness. It's just a state of pure formless awareness and nothing else. And so this is, you know, what he's pointing to here is the levels of the Trinity. So the world correctly perceived. The real world is this world that the true self or the Christ perceives correctly with true perceptions or Christ visions that are really about letting go, forgiving or letting go of all misperceptions. So the true self and its true perceptions perceive the real world. But that is just a step in awakening to the pure formless awareness, the perfect love that's beyond the real world, which is what he's saying here. So do you have a question?
I just want to read it again, actually, John. Even the real world has a purpose still beneath being and eternity. So to me, that implies that the real world is a level 2, not level 1.
Correct. No.
Correct. Okay.
That's the correct understanding. Yeah. The real world is the world that's reinterpreted. So it's the world of the ego with everything that goes on here, all the experiences and events and circumstances and so on.
Oh, right. Okay.
Interpreted by the true self or the Christ with the Holy Spirit, which is just the ability to remember perfect love and apply it in to everything you perceive. So yeah, correct. The real world is a level 2 idea.
So even the corrected perception is beneath belief and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. So the real world, true perception, miracles, Christ vision, these are all part of the illusory world, the real world. The real world is just the illusory world of form and time and space that's perceived correctly from the perspective of the one self, that we are one,
Yeah.
self rather than many. So the real world is really the world that you perceive when you're perceiving correctly, the world that you perceive with true perceptions or Christ vision. But it's not the ultimate outcome, because the ultimate outcome is to correct your mind so much to the extent that it simply merges back into pure formless awareness and perfect love.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So understand the Trinity. That's a very important part of awakening to the, not understanding there's a process to this. I'm not just going to go straight back to pure formless awareness of perfect love. Which is what he says. Even the real there's a purpose still beneath being and eternity. Because they, as demonstrated here, being and eternity sit here, while the real world sits here. Really, is the real world is in the blue arrow. The transformation of perception about the existing known world. Okay.
But in fear is gone because its purpose is letting go, not idolatry.
But in fear, it is gone, I think we should say.
But in fear it is gone because its purpose is letting go, not idolatry.
Change idolatry.
False beliefs.
Yeah.
Not belief.
Not believing falsely. Not false. Keep it there. Okay, so as the source of extension.
Prepared to be myself. And to remember that the extension of pure formless awareness knows everything its source understands and understands it perfectly with it.
Original is, so is heaven's son, prepared to be himself. So is it's translated heaven's a source. So is, I think actually it's not a bad translation. So is the source as extension. I'm going to say the state of pure formless awareness. So is the source as extension, prepared to be himself, to be itself. Remember that, Son of God. Extension of pure formless awareness, extension of perfect love. Knows everything its source understands. And understands it perfectly. Perfectly with. Okay, I'm going to read that from the top in the alternative, please.
The final step is perfect love because it is only perfect love which could extend a perfect extension and share its sourcehood with it. No one outside of the state of pure formless awareness knows how this can be. For understanding this is the state of pure formless awareness itself. Even the real world has a purpose still beneath being and eternity. But in fear, it is gone, because its purpose is letting go, not believing falsely. And so is the source's extension prepared to be itself and to remember that the extension of perfect love knows everything its source understands and understands it perfectly with it.
Okay. But fear is gone. Right. So let's just change that. But yeah. Incorrect. In fear. But fear is gone. Because its purpose is letting go, not believing falsely. Makes more sense now.
It does, yeah.
So as the source's extension prepared to be itself, and to remember that the extension perfect love knows everything. Source understands. And understands it perfectly with it. Okay. And what's he saying in this one? Happy with that?
Yeah, yeah. So he's saying here that he's saying here that our state of when we get back to oneness, we well, it's so difficult to kind of put this into words, really. It's saying that once we achieve oneness, we will lose all sense of the real world, even miracles, because they will all be they will all lose their function, because in when we are completely at one, then everything else disappears.
Yeah. So it's a level 1, level 2. He's pointing us beyond. This is all happening on level 2. The rising up above the battleground into the true self and its perception is essential. We have to do that. It's not the final outcome. The final outcome is the state of pure formless awareness of perfect love, in which there's nothing to forgive, because all of the illusion of this world has just disappeared. We're no longer in it. So there's only that state of pure formless awareness, or the source. And now we come to know that source perfectly. So understanding this is the state of pure formless awareness itself. So when we fully understand, experientially understand, we talk about experiential understanding. When we fully are in that state, we've experienced it, we've had the revelation, then we understand. Because that what he's saying, the understanding is the state of pure formless awareness itself. By understanding this, or how about, well, I can understand this. I can understand this only when I am in the state of pure formless awareness itself. That's what he means. My understanding is then experiential, not intellectual. Which is what he's pointing us to. Yeah, that's why all of his practices are experiential. Okay, so let's start really letting go and experiencing the benefits of that, the lightness and the peace and the joy. experiential understanding of the benefits of letting go. It prepares us for the full understanding, experiential understanding of the state of pure formless awareness, because we're in it as our own awareness.
I think I'm going to have to pull out, John. I'm fading away, actually.
You want to do one more paragraph?
Okay.
Real world.
The real world still falls short of this, for this is God's own purpose, only his, and yet completely shared and perfectly fulfilled. The real world still falls short of this, for this is pure formless awareness of perfect love's own purpose, only its, and yet completely shared and perfectly fulfilled.
Only its, and yet completely. Yeah, happy with that.
Yeah, the real world is a state in which the mind has learned how easily do idols go when they are still perceived only wanted, only wanted not. So the real world is a state in which the mind has learned how easily that it is for false beliefs to disappear when they are not wanted, albeit still perceived.
How easily false beliefs disappear when they are not wanted. Still perceived.
How willingly the mind can let them go when it has understood that idols are nothing and nowhere and are purposeless. How willingly my mind can let them go when I have understood that idols are nothing and nowhere and are purposeless.
Yeah.
How willingly my mind can let go when I have understood that idols are nothing and nowhere and are purposeless. For only then can guilt and sin be seen without a purpose and as meaningless. For only then can guilt and sin be, for only then can I see guilt and sin without purpose and as meaning. I perceive guilt and sin without a purpose and as meaningless. For only then can I perceive guilt and sin without. Yeah, don't need that yet. Okay,
and then can I perceive guilt and sin without a purpose?
Yeah.
How about as meaningless and
without purpose?
Without a purpose. No. So just read that from the top, the whole thing.
Yeah, the real world still falls short of this. But this is perfect love's own purpose, only its, and yet completely shared and perfectly fulfilled. The real world is a state in which my mind has learned how easily false beliefs disappear when they are not wanted, although I may still perceive them. How willingly my mind can let them go when I have understood that my false beliefs are nothing nowhere, and purposeless. For only then can I perceive guilt and sin as meaningless and without a purpose.
Okay, so what's he saying here?
So it's saying that although we might still see things, false idols in the real world, we are not attached to them, we let them go, and therefore we are free, our mind is free to go back to source.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's all part of a stage learning. You know, to perceive the real world is a phase in our learning. We have to go through that. We recognize how easily, you know, these false beliefs can disappear when they're not wanted. Although I may still perceive their effects, perhaps.
Yeah.
So, you know, the idols, I just don't value them, but they might still be there. You know, just because you're not valuing the illusion doesn't mean it's still not there as a potential. But you don't really perceive it as real. So I still perceive their effects. Other people might still be valuing them, but I don't. Willingly, my mind can let them go, and I've understood that my false beliefs are nothing, nowhere, and purposeless. Only then can I perceive guilt and sin as meaningless and without a purpose. Oh, so there's no purpose for the false beliefs and anything I value in this world, because guilt and sin are purposeless. There's no inherent meaning in them. Why? Because the idea of separation isn't real. So if that's not real, then guilt and sin at their apparent separation, caused by their apparent separation, are not real either. And neither is the entire physical world underpinned by the guilt and sin real. Can't be real. Nothing and nowhere and purposeless. The false beliefs are nothing, nowhere, and purposeless. Only then can I perceive guilt and sin as meaningless and without a purpose. So you can see how he's helping us to climb the ladder of separation. Through the real world, we start to perceive everything correctly, and we climb the ladder that we've come down, and take ourselves back up to the state that pre-existed, the idea of separation, pure formless awareness, the perfect love of God that's beyond all separation. But the real world is the process of changing our minds and climbing up the ladder, perceiving things differently as we go.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, John.
You want to leave it there?
Yeah, I'm just kind of fading away, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Well, it's quite late. It's nearly 11. So, yeah, thanks for joining, and join us again in the week. Are you busy tomorrow? You got to.
I may get. Oh yeah, I've got band practice tomorrow night. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, join us at 9 o'clock when you get home if you want. You'll probably still be busy. The text.
Yeah. It'll be 10 o'clock when I get back tomorrow night.
Right. Okay. It's probably a bit late. All right. We'll see you Tuesday.
Anyway, good session. Thanks, John.
Yeah. All right. My only pleasure.
Yeah. Cheers, now.
Thanks, John. All right. Namaste. All right. So I think I'm going to wrap that up now. So thank you to Elaine and John for joining. Hope you enjoyed that. If you joined the live session, joined the recording. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done that. And join us in one of our masterclasses soon. There's a link below. You can do that, and you can also sign up to receive information. Some of the information I shared at the beginning on a Telegram message every day. So do whatever you feel called to do, and I hope to catch you on the inside soon. Namaste, which means the true self in me acknowledges and honors that same true self in you. Peace.